Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. We're headbutting our way into this postgame show as ASU loses 81-72. BJ Freeman gets ejected. Caleb Love gets ejected. Fireworks ensue toward the end of the game. ASU does not shake hands with Arizona players except for Adam Miller, who shook hands with one of the Arizona coaches at the end of the game. But Bobby Hurley was also mad about that. I saw a lot that happened at the end of the game. Let's start with the kerfuffle that ensued toward the end of the game, Damon. Your thoughts on ASU deciding not to shake hands at the end of the game?
As far as just the shaking hands aspect of things, I think it's a very fair choice for ASU to make. Obviously, things were bubbling up in the first half a little bit. 2 technicals there at the end of the first half, and then things bubbled up even more at the end of the second half with the exchange of words and the headbutting. And, you know, Bobby mentioned post-game that he took it as there was a lot of chatter throughout the game that wasn't policed correctly, was his words, and you know, everything just bubbled up into Freeman losing his temper, which Bobby seemed to understand. I don't know that I would ever be in a position where I'm not condemning, or what's the word? Condoning. Thank you. Condoning headbutting another player. That's not where I would be as a coach. What did you guys think of the headbutting?
This is the third time now, I believe, that we have seen BJ Freeman do something like this, get a technical foul for an incident involving another player. He needs to cut down on this. That is something that Bobby should be talking to him about. I don't think that he was in the right here. Now, I will say, Caleb Love made it look a lot worse than it actually was. He very much flopped on that play, and I thought Caleb Love for the entire game was kind of just egging on ASU to the point where at some point it was going to boil over. He was doing forks down so much in this game, and for a veteran guy like that, I have no issues with the forks down and stuff. If you want somebody to not do that, then play better defense. But I do think that it was to a level like, dude, every shot, come on, you don't need to be doing it like every single time you make a 3-pointer. And so I understand why BJ got mad, but this is the third incident we've seen him and with that involves another player, and it needs to stop because ASU can't be doing things like that.
This cannot continue to happen. ASU cannot continue to lose its cool. That's something that ASU needs to work on. It's going to start, as they get later into the season and closer into tournament play, if they want to even come close to making the tournament, they need to be able to cut down on losing their cool. And, not shaking hands, let's get into that now, guys.
Hold on. I just wanted to go on a little bit of a tangent here real quick. You mentioned the tournament. I'm just going to say right now, this team is not making the NCAA tournament. They have shown time and time again that when they play a good opponent like in Arizona, like a Baylor, like in Iowa State, they play almost a 40-minute game like Adam Miller said in the post game. But then they just for some reason cannot pull it out at the end, and who says they're gonna change that? Like, they've shown us that they are not going to change that, and so I just do not see them making the NCAA tournament. I think you can pretty much write it off at this point.
For the not shaking hands thing, I don't like it. I'm just gonna come out right and say it. I think ASU should always be the bigger team in this scenario. If the other team is forcing your players to get mad and want to hit them or headbutt them, then ASU should keep their cool. I'm sorry. Be the bigger person. Go through the handshake line. If you get pushed, walk away. The 2 guys that were just in a kerfuffle are in the locker room already. So ASU should be going through the handshake line, be the bigger team, and then now when you go down south to play against this team in Tucson, you're not going to be getting, yelled at the entire time because you didn't go through with a handshake line. That's just another distraction that they don't need in this season, now going into a game that is going to be a must-win game toward the end of the season.
Really easy for you to say, Mr. Armchair Quarterback here, that you could go through a line and your rival, after playing a 40-minute heated basketball game, they get mad at you and you're not going to get mad back. No, I think it was the correct decision to not shake hands. As I mentioned, there was some Bush League stuff going on from U of A in this game. Who says that the handshake line wasn't going to get bad, and then who knows if it spills into the crowd. You don't want 2020 Kansas State, Kansas. I don't know if anybody remembers that game, but there was a massive fight in that one, and you do not want that to happen. And so I completely understand the not shaking hands in this game. However, and I think we'll get to this next, the comments post-game by Bobby about what we think is Caleb Love, what we am pretty sure is Caleb Love. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Bobby basically said that there was a certain player that he would not be voting for in Big 12 all-conference team. Didn't say what player specifically, but I think we kind of understand who he's talking about.
Yeah, he told us that we had every right to read into it, and he thought that we all knew who he was thinking of. No love lost in this situation, guys. Big time there from Caleb Love to... Bobby's putting it as it's been classless by Arizona all day, and then he talked about Caleb Love is kind of the spearhead of that classlessness there, just as far as Bobby's seeing it. And truth be told, I'm not willing to side with Bobby on this. I think it's a little bit ridiculous to be calling out another team's star player like that, and in this fashion at least, where you're just straight up saying, I'm not going to vote for a player for all conference because I don't like the way he behaved against my team when he beat my team. And, it reminds you of how Bobby is a Duke guy and Caleb Love was once a UNC guy, and that game is being played today as well. And, I don't think that it's a very good look for your head coach to be saying stuff like that about really one of the conference's premier players.
Have we ever seen this before either? I don't ever recall in my time of watching sports a coach literally go into a press conference and say, I'm not going to vote for a player for all conference. And it kind of also shows we argue about, maybe the writers shouldn't be the ones that decide awards and everything. It should be the peers. But who says that this doesn't happen all the time in sports where somebody's like, oh, I just don't like that guy. I don't like playing against him, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to vote for him. So it kind of just, the integrity of the voting process comes into question here, in my opinion. And it's just not something you say, even if it's something you're going to do. Just why make headlines like that?
There was some basketball played this morning at 11 a.m. Great crowd, by the way. Shout out to all the ASU fans that showed up. I think it was a pro ASU crowd today, which is good to see after the Iowa State debacle. I will say that. But so the basketball, I thought in terms of shooting, and obviously I think this game came down to free throws, guys. U of A was 21 of 22 from the line today. ASU was 10 of 14, which is still very good. U of A just made their free throws. ASU, there was some really, good defense in the first half, forcing ASU into some difficult shots, but they were able to overcome that, and some adjustments were made at halftime by ASU where I thought they got some of their playmakers the ball in good spots. I think that was much to do with getting Jaden Quaintance a little bit more involved, getting him the ball, getting him some touches so that the defense moved around a little bit for U of A. So good adjustment by ASU, but it all turned with the turnovers happening with when U of A started to pressure ASU.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I always think of, one of the questions I asked Kenny Dillingham during football season was, when something is a strength of yours, does the opposite kind of become a strength then as well? With the running game and how ASU's defense then became good at the running game. You would think that with ASU's good press defense that they would have a good idea for how to solve press offense. And, in Bobby's own words, I think this was a little bit of a, tongue-in-cheek kind of answer, but he said, I'm just not good at designing press offense. And it felt like maybe a non-answer there, but, it feels like if ASU should be as good as it is on press defense, that it should have a better answer for press offense. And, the turnovers. They had 4 turnovers at half, which was on pace for their best of the season, and then 5 over a 3.5-minute stretch there in the second half. Just not the way that you want your offense to be operating at a whole. And Adam Miller said there's going to be a players-only meeting tomorrow to, kind of work off of that and try and improve.
Yeah, Jesse, I want to get your thoughts not only on the turnovers, but just on the performance of Adam Miller and B.J. Freeman. Miller with 19 and Freeman with 16. Yeah.
Yeah, BJ and Miller were pretty good today, given what they have been dealing with. BJ came in hurt a little bit, and then Adam was coming off the illness. I really like where Adam is shooting the ball. It's just his stroke looks really good. He catches the ball, he shoots it. He's not a guy that's going to hesitate. So I really thought that they played well up until BJ made the mistake at the end with the headbutt. For me, the turnovers, that was a big part of the game as well. But down the stretch, U of A's just went crazy shooting the ball and offensive rebounding. When they wouldn't make shots, it seemed like they were getting the rebound every single time off of the miss, and that should not happen with the size that ASU has. ASU has a 7-footer in Sean Phillips, a 6'9" guy in Jaden Quaintance, who isn't a slight guy. It's not like they have Chet Holmgren out there. They have big dudes, and so ASU should have done a better job rebounding today, and it was that I think the game came down really to U of A shooting, what Caleb Love was able to do at the end of the game, and then the offensive rebounding by Arizona.
Yeah, the rebounding 52-38 was the margin. -14 is the worst that ASU's been in that department since the Florida game, if you guys can remember that one. That one was bad.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, shout out Bashir Jihad. He only had 0 turnovers today, which is better than 6, which was he had 6. Yeah, last 2 games he had 6 in Iowa State and 6 against Colorado. 14 points for him today. Would like to see him shoot the ball a little bit better, but good that he was kept off the turnover score sheet, I guess I should say.
He is the one that it just get the ball and shoot it. And there's also a little hitch in his jump shot that I think that he could fix, but he's the guy that really I think could improve as a player if he just gets the ball, makes the decision to shoot the ball.
That's going to do it for this post-game edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media at AZ Sports Devils. 81-72 is the final score. You can find all of Damon's articles, his in-game articles and post-game article on ArizonaSports.com and the Arizona Sports app. Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you soon.